So I know you might be overwhelmed and maybe even a little bit stuck on how to write your weekly newsletter and build your email list. I know that you just want to know what to write each week. Like you just sit down and have clarity, you know what you're writing, and you're writing with intention, which is going to lead to more consistent leads coming into your business, getting more client inquiries, more responses and engagement. Like you've been reading my mind and I love your emails. And ultimately, you want your emails to make more sales. If only you knew how to actually get the right people to sign up for your email list and then know what to send them in all of your weekly newsletters or however often you send it. After listening to this episode, you will feel clear and confident about how to build your email list and what to email your list, so you'll never have to sit and stare at a blinking cursor again. My guest today is one of my favorite copywriters in the biz, and frankly, one of the best copywriters in all of online business. We are so lucky to have her here today. Tarzan K. So Tarzan specializes in writing emails that are fun to read and more addictive than whatever you just marathon watched on Hulu. Her programs and DIY courses teach business owners how to write highly addictive, story-driven emails that sell without using coercive sales tactics. She spent the last 3 years quietly dismantling her 7-figure boss babe empire and is now building a more inclusive online business that prioritizes people over profits. She lives in Ontario, Canada, with her 2 children and 1 canoe. I'm so excited for you to hear my conversation with Tarzan. She dropped some real gems in this episode, so you're in for a treat. Let's get into it. Hey, Tarzan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam.
I'm so glad you're here. You're one of my favorite people. I talk about you all the time.
What? Me too. Me too.
I'm just very lucky to have you here. Everyone is very lucky. And speaking of, I would love for you to tell our listener, if they take the time, they go pop in their headphones and take a walk or go canoeing, your favorite thing to do. What can they expect to hear out of today's episode?
Okay, well, you're going to walk away from this episode feeling a lot less scared and a lot less bad about all the things you haven't done yet. Like, we all have all this drama wrapped up in email, like, ooh, I didn't send one last week, or ooh, I don't have enough subscribers, or like, ooh, people are going to be mad at me. They won't like it. Like, we're just going to cover all of that. And you'll leave this episode knowing where your next subscribers are going to come from and what sorts of things that you should be talking to them about.
Yeah, I love that. And you and I are very much cut from the same cloth of just like, let's cut the BS and just get it done, because we're wasting like way more time talking about it than we could have just like got back to it by now. Yeah, so I think that's going to be really helpful. So we're going to break up our conversation into kind of a 2-part situation. We're going to talk a little bit about building up our email list for anybody listening who feels like they don't have enough people on their list to write to yet, although I would make an argument that it does not matter. If you have 2 people right now, you got 2 people, let's write to them. But we'll talk about building that, and then we'll talk in the second half about writing great weekly emails. So why do you think that everyone listening should build their emails? Why should they focus on email list building as a part of their online business?
Well, your email for an online business, like that's your mechanism for making sales. Like that's really where the transaction happens. It's the final step to like get people to click through to whatever thing they're going to buy. It's also where you have the most control. It's where you can predict like, okay, X number of people receive this email. This number is probably going to click through. We can predict a little bit what's going to happen. You know, if I need a revenue boost in September, I know like, okay, well, I'm going to send X number of emails and promote this thing, and this is what's going to happen.
Yes. Okay. Sure. So consistent sales, that comes up a lot. I just did an episode with Caitlin Collins, who does all my like funnel work. And we were talking about how people are often disappointed to find out that if they're going to run a sale or some promo to their list, and 1% to 2% is, you know, roughly the conversion rate, they look at their numbers and go, oh no, this like giant sales goal that I had is now not realistic based on, you know, I have 50 people on my list. Like I'm not going to make my $50,000 that I thought I was going to make.
Oh, yeah, that is a bit of a cruel reality. Yeah. But it's also important to have a perspective on 1% to 2%. Like for people like you and I, who are seasoned marketers with larger lists, like we use 1% to 2% as a baseline conversion rate, but we're also doing highly scalable marketing strategies. Whereas when you are like, let's say you're you're a service provider and you have 50 people on your email list. Those 50 people, like they might have come to a workshop with you. They might have done a one-on-one session. Like you might know them personally. Conversion rates can be much, much higher with a small list percentage-wise than they are with a larger list. So let's keep that in mind. Like my subscribers mostly come from Facebook ads. They don't know me from Adam. Like they saw me for 3 seconds on Facebook, clicked through to my opt-in page, and like that's the beginning of the relationship. Versus someone that you did a session with, like maybe created some sort of transformation with, and they said, okay, sure, like I'll follow you and like read your work in my inbox. Very, very different. So, a little piece of feel better advice there.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I could see how it's like a higher quality list even when it's small. I mean, as long as we're assuming that the people on your list aren't all people you're related to currently.
Right, that is also true. Yeah, and the other factor to keep in mind is like I'm selling lower cost products at scale. So, I might be selling courses for like $500 or $1,000. You might be a service provider and your earnings per subscriber is going to be way, way higher than mine because you're selling things that are potentially more expensive and those people might come back again for the same thing.
True. Okay. Yeah, it's a very good point.
I meet people all the time that have a list of like maybe 3,000 or 4,000 and make the same amount of money that I do with my list of 10,000. That's like really common, happens all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I guess it's also a plug for like engaging a lot with any of the replies that you are getting because those leads could be a little bit warmer at this point. And so keeping up that back and forth relationship with them when you do go to run a sale could be really important.
Huge value. Even with the list my size, when I do a promotion and I see the names of the people coming through, I often recognize them because I'm like, oh yeah, this person replies to my emails all the time.
Oh, okay. That's great. Okay. Where would you say that someone should, who's starting out and like sometimes people feel a little, worried about like feeling like I'm just starting, I'm trying to build my email list. It feels so far away. And then they're being hit with all this messaging on social media that, they can create reels and go viral or I guess be on TikTok or something. But I'm always making an impassioned argument for like how the email list should really be more of the focus of building. Where do you feel like email list fits versus the hierarchy of social media and other content platforms?
Okay, well, I'll say right up front, I'm not qualified to speak about social media. I've never been good at it, and mostly it's something I just really don't like. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel bad about myself. Like, it really gets in the way of me doing productive work just by logging in. So as much as possible, I don't really engage. Like I'm a little bit on LinkedIn because I enjoy that more. It doesn't really get me that much growth. But for me, I have a hard line on it because whether or not it works, it doesn't feel good to me. Whereas with my email, my newsletter and my email marketing, like I love writing. Like it's the best part of my job. And the whole reason I have this business is that it's given me a career as a writer, which is, not everyone's choice. But for me, like the writing is the best part. And it's like this one-to-one conversation with the person who's reading. And in the replies as well, it feels personal. It feels powerful. The connections that I make through my email and my newsletters are so much deeper than one-to-many thing going on social media. We've already heard all the arguments to like, you don't own the algorithm. It can change at any time, blah, blah, blah. I do know people who, I have a client who's really successful on TikTok. She knows the formula. She has like tons of viewers and she's like built a funnel based on having like a shitload of traffic from TikTok. And that's working. And also that's just not my model at all. I've chosen to lean into email because I don't want to be on social. I just like this better.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, as somebody who my social media works great and I don't like it. So it's like I'm like right there. So it's a really weird place.
Do you participate in it though? Are you doing it?
Yeah, but I have a nice in between where it's like I have a team that creates the content and posts it for me, so I'm not posting that content myself. So it's like, but I also recognize I can only do that now. I couldn't have done that in the beginning. So
yes.
I pay a premium, to be able to do that now. But I think, for somebody listening who's in the beginning and they might be identifying with what you're saying and they're like, I don't like it either. And I think so many people just treat social like it's a requirement of building this kind of business. And so I'm curious what your advice would be to somebody who's like, okay, I like what Tarzan's saying. Like, I also want to focus on my email list, but I'm new. So how do I get people to my email list without being on social media?
Yeah, okay. I mean, the reason people are building on social media is because there's people there. So you're going to Instagram, you're going to Facebook, you're going wherever to get in front of the people, but there's plenty of other places that you can get in front of people. So just as an obvious thing here, like Sam advertises in my newsletter quite frequently. That's a place for her to get in front of my audience who are ideal buyers. We serve the same sorts of customers, and that can be done as a paid ad, but it can also be done as a swap. So people do this all the time. Like, hey, can you give me a shout out in your newsletter? I'll give you a shout out in my newsletter. Like, you got to go for someone with a similar sized audience, or say, like, let's say you have 50 subscribers and you want to get in front of someone that has 1,000. You might say, like, hey, I'll give you like 3 shout outs. Can you give me a shout out in your newsletter? So that's a way to get in front of someone else's email list. There's an audience there. Whatever your industry is, there's audiences everywhere. There's other leaders in your industry. Maybe they have podcasts. I mean, we're doing it right now. This is one of my best organic list building methods, is getting on other people's podcasts. And if you think about the difference there too, it's like, if you listen to this whole episode, you will have listened to me speak for, I don't know, what are we doing this for? An hour?
Yeah.
You'll have been listening to Tarzan for an hour. You're going to know a lot about my style, my vibe, the way that I talk, my values in business, like the way that I list build. Like, you're going to know so much more about me, as opposed to like if you saw one post of mine on Instagram. Think about, where are the audiences other than social, and go get in front of those. And that requires, like some tenacity. Like, this is online business. Like, there's many skills that we have to build. And one of the critical skills you're going to have to build is pitching people, saying like, hey, can I be on your podcast? This is what I'm going to talk about. Hey, will you shout me out in your newsletter? Hey, can I speak at your event? Like, all of these sorts of things are audiences that are available to you to get in front of.
Yeah, I call them list building opportunities. And I'm always telling people, like, I look for it every single place I go. I think the first step is having this be top of mind, that, like, as I always say, and I repeat many times in my book, like, all roads lead to the email list. And so I'm always thinking about that. And I think very much to your point, Tarzan, I'm always looking for, like, somebody just asked me the other day, for example, to include my book as part of a goodie bag for a in-person conference for online business owners. And I was like, that's great. I need some exposure for my email list beforehand. Like, I want to be included in something, like some email that's going out. Or we have a playlist, for example, that's very popular that I created on Spotify for the podcast, where I have like 3 popular episodes. And instead of just sending everybody the link to the actual playlist, we use ManyChat on Instagram, where people have to put in their name and they get added to my email list to get the playlist link. So it's just like these little tiny grabby ways, but also not to forget like all these in-person opportunities. I wrote articles for other people's websites a lot in the beginning.
Yeah,
I offered that.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, just be ready. Like, I have I don't have one in front of me right now, but I have like a little postcard that I bring to events, and I just like carry them around with me. I give them to people all the time. Even very successful newsletters still hand sign people up. So like, don't discount that. That's like even greater than an hour on a podcast, is like, I shook your hand. I looked you in the eye. Like, I know you. So those ones are also super valuable. But you know what we skipped over? So I just want to back up a second. Like, a lot of people struggle with building their newsletter because they don't actually know what it is. They don't know who it's for. They don't really know what they're writing about. Like, they don't understand the value. And if you don't understand those things, it's really hard to say, like, why should someone sign up? It's difficult to write a sign-up page that's convincing if you don't know what it actually is. Maybe we could just talk about that for a bit.
Yeah.
What are the key things that you're going to write about? Take yourself out of the equation. Like, I'm not going to say to you, like, read the latest news of Tarzan. Like, come and read my life story on my newsletter, even though that's like kind of what my newsletter is. That's boring. Like, you don't know me. You don't care about me. I have no investment. Like, if I come to your website and it's like, join my email list for weekly updates, like, I don't know you. So what are you offering? Do you like lead some sort of circles? Do you What sorts of things do you write about? Like, even what is the main problem that you solve? Like, the main problem that I can solve for people is supporting them in letting go of their resistance around sending email. So even just knowing something like that, like if you go to my landing page, there's this headline that says the email that will make you want to write more emails. Because that's like the primary point of resistance is like, I know I should be doing email marketing. I know that newsletters are like this really big thing right now, but I'm like all up in my head and like, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to write about? Do people want this? Blah, 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 blah. So just like knowing what is that problem, like traditionally people only really create landing pages for their freebies. That's sort of the way that I was always taught. But we're seeing way more opt-in pages that are direct to a newsletter. And whether or not you ever even build that page, just like sit down. In fact, you know what? I have like a really great template.
Yeah. I'll put it in the show notes so you have a link to it. Yeah.
Okay. So if you sit down with this template and you just fill it out, like, okay, what is the main outcome that I can provide? Okay, here's a spot that I have to write who it's for. Here's a spot where I need like a little bit of authority, like why me? Why should you trust me? What's your education? Like, who are your mentors? Who did you learn from? How long have you been doing this? All of those things, like sitting down and doing that as an exercise, hopefully you will build the page because you also need a very strong landing page to capture all that hard-won traffic. But alone, just like to sit down and do that so that you can understand. Like if you go out and do a podcast interview and the interviewer says like, okay, Tarzan, where can people find you? You have to know what to say. So I'll say, hey, you go to tarzanandkay.com/newsletter and like sign up to my newsletter. You're going to see how this is done. You're going to like really see in action what it looks like when newsletters are engaging and interesting. And we do sales in a consent-based way. Like that's something else. We won't talk about that today. But what is it that you are actually asking people to sign up for? Because actually an email address is pretty precious. Like you're asking people for their time. You're asking people for their focus. Know what you're asking for and, treat it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Give them a reason to come around. People have enough other stuff to check out for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt lost about where to begin with the legal side of protecting your online business? Some people say you can just wing it at the beginning and get officially set up later. Not a good idea, by the way. Whether you're afraid to even start working with clients because you don't want to do something wrong legally and then get in trouble, or your business is growing and you sort of forgot to take care of the legal pieces, I've got you. I don't want you to live in fear of the internet police coming after you and your business, but you do have to do certain things and get certain things in place in order to legally and safely run your business online. As much as it just feels like an unregulated wild, wild west online, that is very much not the case. As an attorney turned entrepreneur and former corporate litigator, I can assure you that there are rules. There are real steps that everybody who runs or starts an online business needs to take. And you're not behind at all. We can get you set up and following the rules right away. In fact, we can even do it today. I want to teach you the 5 very simple steps to take to legally protect and grow your online business. You don't need an MBA to be a successful entrepreneur and stay out of legal hot water, but you do need to dot your legal I's and cross your T's in a few key areas that can't be skipped. That's exactly what I'll teach you in my free 1-hour legal workshop called 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. Just head to mylegalworkshop.com, drop in your email address, pick the time, and I'll send you a link to watch the workshop video whenever you have time. This is the best place to begin if you're just getting started legally legitimizing your business, so head on over to mylegalworkshop.com and sign up to watch 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business now. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of as you know, we advertise straight to the email list all the time. And, but I had to figure out that when I started doing this years ago, I called it easy email sign up because in my head, I was like, I just want to make it easy for people to sign up because my emails themselves are valuable. And so we came from this like very heavy freebie culture, which I still think freebies are great. And I use them obviously a lot. But I also think that if you're good at communicating the value of your actual email itself, what are you going to get out of opening this thing once or twice a week? You can get people also just to sign up that way. And it does feel a little easy. I'll say less friction.
Yeah. The other thing is like, because there's been this freebie culture, people have a huge mental block. And actually, if someone signed up to your freebie, like you don't really know if they want your newsletter. You know that they want your freebie, which is cool. That's like a hint that they might be interested in hearing from you. I think freebies are great. However, I also give people the option to just get the freebie And they still have to say if they want the newsletter or not. So I use a tick box. I want to know, like, you signed up because you said you want my emails. And I'll often remind people when they're like caught up in their drama of like, should I email my list? Like, do they want to hear from me? Like, but no, like they said, they gave you their email. Like they said, yes, I want you to email me. And you have a button in every single email. Like, we started with consent. It can be revoked at any time. Like, you check that box. Let's not go over this again and again. We've taken care of that.
Yeah, both legally and literally. It's all it's all done. Yeah, exactly. I always say give people the like authority. They can leave on their own.
And also trust them. Like, give them the authority, but also like trust them. That you don't actually have to baby people. You don't have to manage anyone's inbox for them. That's their job. You do your job, which is you send the emails you said you were going to send. If you don't, it doesn't look great for you. You know, there's a really short period of time where people actually remember you. Yeah. If I signed up and then I didn't hear from you until like 3-4 months later, like, I don't know who you are anymore. Yeah. So, you know, showing up right away and showing up, you know, at least once a month, twice a month is better. Every time you show up in that inbox, you are showing, like, I am trustworthy. I am a serious business person. I am someone who does what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think people start to look forward to it. If you're doing a good job and people like hearing your emails, then I'm like always waiting. I love reading your emails. I'm always excited when I see your emails come in. So,
I mean, we haven't even gotten to that yet, but that's the best feeling is when people reply and they're like, oh my God, your emails are the only ones I read every week. Like, oh, wow, this is my love language. Email compliments.
I'm sure you get a ton of those. I know I do as well. And so it's really helpful, which again goes back to your point of like people have a lot of options. They're overwhelmed with options actually, and so giving them that reason, that value to come to you and stay. You know, one thing you've talked about in the past that I think would probably be very mind-blowing to some people is like you've talked about the difference between email marketing and newsletters. Right. And I think sometimes that it's helpful for people to hear what the difference is and what we're talking about.
Okay, great. Yeah, good question. So your newsletter is your weekly nurture email. Your newsletter is Sam's sidebar. It's that newsletter that has like a little bit of story, maybe a little bit of lesson. Like, you can make your newsletter whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's a newsletter and it has like a few links to what's happening in your industry. Not all newsletters have to be like mine and Sam's. But there's, you know, some body content. It's usually has a format that is predictable every single week, goes out on the same day, and it's purely there to like start conversations, show your expertise, do a little bit of teaching. You know, it has a few little side hustles, like maybe people book a consultation here and there. Maybe they see a sale, maybe they click on something, but really like the newsletter is consistent nurture. And almost everything else about email is email marketing. So email marketing is a promotion, is a series of emails to sell something. Email marketing is a series of emails to have people join your webinar. Anything that's an automation, that's email marketing. On my email list, for example, if you join and like you click on a program, you might get a series of follow-up emails trying to sell you that program. Like, all of those automations are email marketing, and those are about sales, whereas the newsletter is about nurture and it doesn't have much automation attached to it.
Okay. So that's super helpful for people, I think, to know that we're really talking about two different things. And so how do you break down or approach in your own business your weekly newsletter versus like, no, I'm not talking about any of the funnels or automations you have set up, but when you go do a few weeks at what I call sprint internally of email marketing to point to one of your programs, for example, what's like that cadence balance like for you?
Oh, you mean like how often do I do a promotion?
Yeah, for promotions versus then like your weekly newsletter.
I generally do a promotion at least once a month.
Yeah.
So there might be like a larger, you know, there's usually like one big marketing push that has like, you know, 15 or 20 emails attached to it, which sounds like a lot. So don't worry, it doesn't have to be that much. But, you know, something of that size, let's say quarterly, but I'm promoting something every month for sure. I haven't been great in the automation side. We just set up a new automation that we hope will do well for us. But most of my revenue that I make comes from sales emails that are like, I write, you know, they're like current. They're not evergreen stuff. So because like this would be very different if I had evergreen stuff in the background, I probably wouldn't promote as much. But again, like this is very personal. You know, my competitors, my peers that send way more promotions than I do, I'm like once a month. And maybe I might also, as a secondary thing, I might like do a little bit of affiliate marketing or something.
Yeah.
You know, I might promote someone else's webinar, and that would just be like 2 emails, maybe 1 promo, something like that.
Okay. And so if you're doing a monthly promo, about how many emails are you dedicating to that promo?
Let's say like 6.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Within like a 2-week time period?
Yeah. Even less. You know, I've experimented with the different lengths of promotions like for 10 years. And I like a longer window because I feel like it puts less pressure on my subscribers. They get more time to decide. But actually, in some cases, it results in fewer sales, which is normal. Like if you're not pressuring people, they don't feel pressured, they don't purchase. So that's normal. And the other thing to know is like if you have a window of selling, like cart open, cart close, it's a lot of space holding. So if you're new at this and you're like launching a course for the first time and you're like, I'm going to sell this thing for 2 weeks, oh my God, you're going to want to die like on day 6. And you're going to be like, why did I do this to myself? We were just talking before we hit record. Like so much of being in this business requires like inspiration, belief, like you are the cheerleader. And so to play that role for like 2 weeks, you know, I don't do those sorts of launch windows anymore. For me, the maximum is like 8 days. And then I'm like, I can't hold any more than that. I got to take care of me first.
Yeah, same with me. Yeah, I'm with you. And you always use, I want everybody to know too, like you always use what we call soft opt-outs. So you always have links within your emails that say if you just don't want to hear about this promo. So it's not like, because I'm imagining some people are having some resistance thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for a decade. So for me to do a promo once a month is no big deal. I recycle a ton of emails. So, you know, the biggest amount of work is the first time I promote something. But if I do it again 3 months later, it's way easier. I already did most of the emails. So just know that like you're not going to be doing it at the same cadence as me because you have way more creative output. But yeah, regarding the soft opt-outs, like that's another thing I do because again, if we're coming back to a place of like feeling good about sending email and not feeling like I'm annoying people, I give them a way to turn the emails off. And then it's like out of my hands. I just have to trust you that you're going to manage your own inbox. That's not my job. My job is to give you the tools to turn it off because it's true. If you promote a lot, like if you promote at the pace that I do and many of my peers, like whether you use soft opt-outs or not, like you get unsubscribes when you do a promotion. It's just normal. Yeah. People don't read the whole email and they might just be like, oh, Tarzan's being annoying. Like, let me just get rid of her. So that does happen, but you'll save a lot more if you just let people manage your own inbox. Like I even let people manage the frequency of their emails. Yeah. So if they're like next to the unsubscribe button, again, like you have to go to tarzank.com/newsletter so you can see all these things in action. But in my newsletter, part of the template at the bottom in the footer where you have the unsubscribe links and stuff, you can change the frequency to like all the emails once a week or once a month. So I'm like giving them the options and I'm just going to trust that like they can manage their own inbox.
Yeah, it's a good thing to start practicing no matter what and just start like sitting in the fact that you offer value, your emails are good, and like let people do what's best for them. Because once those people become customers, you don't also want to start micromanaging of like that. The next thing is people will start feeling badly that people bought from them and like, oh, they probably didn't even want this thing. And so it's all, it's all part of the process.
It's all a big spiral. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Have you ever felt lost about where to begin with the legal side of protecting your online business? Some people say you can just wing it at the beginning and get officially set up later. Not a good idea, by the way. Whether you're afraid to even start working with clients because you don't want to do something wrong legally and then get in trouble, or your business is growing and you sort of forgot to take care of the legal pieces, I've got you. I don't want you to live in fear of the internet police coming after you and your business, but you do have to do certain things and get certain things in place in order to legally and safely run your business online. As much as it just feels like an unregulated wild, wild west online, that is very much not the case. As an attorney turned entrepreneur and former corporate litigator, I can assure you that there are rules. There are real steps that everybody who runs or starts an online business needs to take. And you're not behind at all. We can get you set up and following the rules right away. In fact, we can even do it today. I want to teach you the 5 very simple steps to take to legally protect and grow your online business. You don't need an MBA to be a successful entrepreneur and stay out of legal hot water, but you do need to dot your legal I's and cross your T's in a few key areas that can't be skipped. That's exactly what I'll teach you in my free 1-hour legal workshop called 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. Just head to mylegalworkshop.com, drop in your email address, pick the time, and I'll send you a link to watch the workshop video whenever you have time. This is the best place to begin if you're just getting started legally legitimizing your business, so head on over to mylegalworkshop.com and sign up to watch 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business now. Tarzan and I was also good examples in that, like, there, I preach a lot in my business that there are just so many ways. I don't believe that there's any like one right way or one path. And so like you and I are good examples of like, I do 3 promos a year for the whole year. And so it's like, but I also have an evergreen funnel running in the background that works really well. So it's like, there are so many different ways and cadences. I've also decided, like we sent out an email in December, just a 1-day email promo about literally 1 day about the bundle, and it made $12,000 in a day. And so it was like, it happens. So yeah, there's many, many ways to go around this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing to wrap your head around because so many online courses, most of them that are pitched to you are like, teach my model, my proven step-by-step thing. And it can take years to like try someone's model. Okay, like that didn't work. I'm going to try someone else's model. Okay, that didn't work. And like after a while, like you cobble together your own model. Yeah. And all of those failures along the way is like a critical rite of passage. Like nobody gets to skip that step. So just go easy on yourself if you didn't find the perfect model yet.
Yeah, seriously. Just welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I think you've given people a lot of good ideas about some email list growth and like kind of setting things up in a certain way. I would love for you to talk about how you plan what topics you're going to, like, how do you approach now when we're talking about more of your weekly newsletter, not your promos? How do you plan what you're going to talk about each week? Is that something you do far in advance or you do it week by week?
Yeah, all my career, people have been talking about their damn content calendars. Yeah. I'm like, don't talk to me about your content calendar. Yeah, like, no. I mean, I do have a system. And actually, we can add this to your resources here because I have a system that I love. Every month, I have one Google Doc that houses all of my emails. And I use tabs, so it's like all beautifully organized. And the first tab, which is sort of like the first page of the document, organizes the emails for the month. I have a few complex factors is like I sell ads. Sometimes I do newsletter swaps, and then I promote things in my newsletter. Like I do the email marketing, which is the sales emails, but I will still say like, hey, my program 1K subs is on sale right now. Try and get more people interested in the promo. So all of that is organized, and that's just like that's more like the promotional elements of the email. And there's not really like content. Like, it's Monday as we're recording this episode. I write my newsletter on Wednesday. I have like a little bit of an idea what I might write about on Wednesday, but I don't really know. However, I do keep a running list of ideas. And this part is so important because, figuring out what to write about week by week is a struggle for everyone. Like we all have to figure out our systems to get around this problem of the nasty blinking cursor. In that same document where I organize my newsletters, I have like an ideas bucket and I'm constantly throwing things in. So if I read something, like let's say I see something on LinkedIn, I might want to write about that. Or like I read something in a book, or there's like a little turn of phrase or a story that I want to tell. I'm just dumping those into the document all week, all month long. And then when I sit down to actually write the newsletter, I've got like, 8 or 10 things that I could pull from. And, that's my system that works for me. Like some people love content calendars. Because I'm in this business to be a writer, I love the writing. it's my favorite part of my job. So anything that makes me feel boxed in and is like, oh, like February is the month of welcome emails. Like, but I don't want to. Like, I feel like instant resistance. So I give myself a ton of flexibility. But I would say, like, one place where I've gotten in trouble is because I write my emails the week before. I don't always check the date. And, like sometimes I'll write something that's like totally inappropriate for like Thanksgiving or like, cause I'm Canadian. So I'll like send something out on like an important US holiday or like Super Bowl Sunday or something like, at a minimum for your content calendar, like you could have like important like cultural dates.
Right.
Is important.
It's helpful.
Yeah, because it is important to be timely. Like people know, people definitely can tell. It might take a little bit, but like if they're in an automation for a long period of time and it's not current, it's just like I talk a lot about writing. So if none of my emails address AI content, that would be weird and would be an indicator that I'm not producing timely content. So it's also important to pull from like not just cultural events, but like whatever's happening in your industry and whatever's in the news. And those would be something that I would put, again, I would just like dump it into the document. Oh, look, like ChatGPT like rolled out this new feature, like put that in the document. Maybe I could talk about it.
Yeah. And you can always kick like I've had what I plan to talk about that week and then something timely happens and I'll kick my idea to a different week and just keep it on the list.
Of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you go from taking, because I think because of the way I write as well, I get a lot of questions about storytelling and translating stories into emails that speak to your audience and maybe eventually sell. But how do you take everyday stories, as I say, seeing a peanut in the grocery store and turning it into a story that has something to do with what you do?
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't always know.
Thing.
I don't always know. And I have a lot of experience. And for me, I am able to write the email and segue into a bit of a lesson. For most people, it works better to have a destination, to know where you're going and start with the story and see how you can connect the two. But I'm sorry, this is like annoying advice. So much of it is practice. You can ask ChatGPT to help you segue into a lesson about whatever your industry is. AI can be great for support like that, even just to give you 10 bad ideas so that gets your brain going to think of a good one. But I'm sorry, I think it's just practice. And sometimes there's not. Sometimes you can't make it work. I'll write a story and I'll either be like, hey, sorry, I know I said I was writing about email, but I just thought you would like this story and it's not related to business. See ya. Sometimes I do that if the story is good enough. Sometimes I'll start with a little bit of a story. I often don't have a whole story, but I have an interesting hook. Someone said something to me that I thought was curious. I want to explore that in writing, even though I don't know what the story is going to be. Sometimes I will explore it and I can't make it work. One vital part of my newsletter document that I'll share is the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And it's I'll just grab this thing that I wrote and throw it on the cutting room floor. I might use that scrap later. I might not. It's every writer's constant challenge is that we have to learn to kill our darlings. And sometimes just moving it somewhere else. It's okay, I wrote this. I can't use it. I'll just put it over here. Maybe I'll come back to it, even though I probably won't come back to it, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So, you have to get used to false starts. I don't know. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for that question. It's practice.
I think that's a really good answer. I really believe in practice. I mean, I've been talking about this here on the podcast a lot about just getting used to it. People ask me about how did you go from talking about this thing to that thing? And I'm I literally just started. I remember that I found a copy hackers document, blog post a million years ago, 8 years ago or something like this about segues, about just
segues.
Yeah. What does seeing a peanut in the grocery store have to do with growing your email list? Here's how. And I literally would just start off by actually saying that. Mine are a little bit smoother now, but I started by doing that.
Okay, well, that's a really great tip. Like, I'd put segues in my writing courses. There is always some sort of segue document, but like, if you could, you could like have AI brainstorm this for you. But just having a list of segues is great because it's just like it's one. I know the blog post you're talking about, by the way, because I'm sure I read it too. Just like, okay, this is the line that's going to transition. It might be a bit awkward, but like you'll get better next time. There's just no way around it with writing. Like, great writers write a lot and they read a lot. So if you want to be an awesome writer, like, start writing daily. It doesn't have to be a lot, but like, keep reading. Those things will make you better.
Absolutely. Good advice. Yeah. I say to myself often, writers write, because I get in my head about like, I want to be more of a writer. I want to write more. I want to do, and I'm like, yeah, writers write about it. They don't talk about it. So like, how about we stop talking about it? And otherwise I'm going to be a public speaker. So yeah. I don't know what you think about this advice, but one thing that has also helped me in the past with, if you want to write emails that are a little bit more story driven, is that I actually think about the lesson that I know I want to teach. And then I think back, I brainstorm a little bit back to a story or something that's happened to me that proves that point. Like, I reverse engineer it actually and write it backwards. That really helps me, where I'm like, I know this is where I want it to end, and where's a time that this thing has happened to me before that would illustrate this.
I use that method almost exclusively with sales emails.
Okay,
so I give myself more flexibility with the newsletter. I'm like, let me just this is my sandbox. Let's just see where it goes. But when it comes to sales emails, I don't have the luxury of just seeing where it goes. It's like, I need to address this objection. So I start with that, and then a segue, and then the top part.
That's a good point. So what would you say should be their goal with their weekly newsletter, or their newsletter as often as they write it?
Oh, what should be their goal? Like, for consistency?
Engagement, should you be like getting, like, I guess what's a good way to know it's quote unquote working? Like, should we be looking for engagement? Should we be getting clicks? Like, where would you tell them to focus?
Great question. Okay, so the first thing is, like, you are in competition with yourself and no one else. And remember, just like we started, a lot of the metrics that you'll hear, like 1% to 2% for a baseline conversion rate, like same with email. If you're hearing like, oh, most people are getting like 40% open rate and their click to open rate is 8% or whatever, like you're not comparing apples to apples. If your list is small, your open rate's probably going to be higher, as is your click-through rate. So like, don't bother comparing yourself to other people. Every industry is different. Every list is different. It's just like a waste of time. What I would say as a starting point, even just like, I'm going to log in every week after I send my email, just like, don't even worry yet about like what it means. I'm just going to log in and I'm going to look at it. What percentage of people opened? What percentage of people clicked? And even more importantly, which links did they click on? What did people find interesting? So like, forget about trying to like make yourself better. Just like, data can be scary too. It's like, oh, I have to like put a spreadsheet together. I have to like try and be better or be as like good as like same open rate as this person, whatever. Like, no, just get comfortable. Just like looking at the numbers and see if you can interpret what they mean. And also, are you trending upward or are you trending downward? Like, your subject line, especially when you don't have a lot of history, your subject line is really the most important thing that's going to get your newsletter opened. In the long term, like with your long-term subscribers, actually, it's the from name. It's all of the trust and all of the history that you have with that person. So that's also, you're building your credibility over time. But right now, you're starting out. So your open rate is going to be mostly dependent on what your subject line is. So, as you're just logging into your email service provider, whatever it is, you're just going to look at the open rate and then look at the subject line. You don't like have to take notes. You don't have to do anything. You just have to log in and read it and start there.
Yeah. And do you have any suggestions as to how people can improve their subject lines?
Yeah, I mean, almost any subject line can be improved by just adding a question mark at the end of it. Like, maybe I don't know, bad example. Maybe I'm writing a subject line about my favorite sandwich. And the subject line is my new favorite sandwich. Just adding a question mark, my new favorite sandwich? It's like, now we've opening a sandwich was, I'm sorry, I can't think of a better example.
No, I think that's a good example. It adds some intrigue because I'd be like, wait, what is your favorite sandwich?
Or it's also like, is it even a sandwich? Like a question mark opens a loop, and human beings are wired to want to close the loop. So you can
opening the loop is the goal.
Opening a loop. Yeah. So just play, like, even if you think you have a good subject line, like the best piece of advice I ever got versus the best piece of advice I ever got, suddenly it's like a little more interesting. So adding a question mark and some sort of curiosity. You know what else works great is like weird words, like made up words, or like think about all, there's all these online business words that we hear all the time, like about like scale and perfectionism and trading hours for dollars and da-da-da-da. Like that's so boring. It's not going to get your emails opened. So anything like even, like funny jargon or like clever spelling, made up words, like those can play really well. I noticed you use first names all the time. I'm like, wow, this is like really working for Sam. I don't use them very often.
The reason I do that is because I have found a little bit of a method that's worked well for me, which is centering the reader in the outcome that they want. So like Tarzan hits 30K subs, like something like this, or like Tarzan's podcast just got ranked #1. And then like the story will be something about that, or like that we shouldn't be going for that, or something like that. But it's like that's the thought process that I'm doing, is I'm using the outcome and making them the hero of the subject line.
This is such a great tip. So I write a lot about my own stories from life, and then I noticed that some of my subscribers and people in my courses, they will be writing their own stories from life, and I'm like, okay. That's all good. However, when I'm telling my own stories, I'm also thinking about the reader as the hero of the story. And that's pretty important. It's like I'm telling a story in a way that I think you're going to be able to relate to, that you can see yourself in. You have to learn, like you have to train yourself to think that way, because it's a very layered way of writing. It's like I'm writing the story, but like how can I write it in such a way that my subscriber really feels like I'm writing about them? And that's when you get the sort of emails that are like, oh my God, this is like the best thing in my inbox. Like, oh, somebody finally said it. This was exactly what I needed to hear today. That's what people will say when you're writing as though they are the hero of the story.
Yeah, my email last week was about the subject line, I think, was "The Queen of Content is Dead." Which I should have added a question mark to, now that I see this.
Totally.
Like, he's dead? Yeah. But I added it to my book. But it was about how I was the self-appointed queen of content, and I died a long time ago when my parents died. There was just like no pumping out this amount of content anymore. But about how we can like transition to a new way of doing business. And this was like, it was wild watching the replies come back afterwards. I took it from me being the queen to then flipping the reader to being like the queen of their own story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a lot of knowing your audience. Like it also requires knowing like what are they really struggling with? Like there's the problem they say they have, and then there's like the problem that they really have. And knowing that takes some time.
Yeah, and like I feel like the theme of this conversation is like practice, practice, practice. Because the more you practice that, then that's how you know, because you pick up on the themes and what's working.
Yeah, but also like just that things take time. Like I mean, you wrote about this in your book, but like because we're exposed to so much marketing about online business and how it's going to happen in like 60 days, or like, so many funnels are like how I built an $80 million business. Blah, 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 steal my system. Like people start thinking that it's going to happen that fast for them. And it's very rare that it does. And when you think just like Sam, if you think you know someone who built it really fast, they probably had a bunch of failures behind them. Like it really does take time. And you're already doing the right things. Like you're listening to a podcast, you're taking classes, like you keep going. After you fail, you try again. Like those are the right things. And just let it take time, because it does.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know how you approach this, but like, would you share with everyone what your thought process is on the old adage of like there should only be one CTA, one call to action per email, versus what I know a lot of people like you and I are doing now, which is having more than one, usually link at least to different things in our emails. How are you feeling maybe for more the beginner? Like, should they be focusing on one thing?
Well, we're actually back to this question about email marketing versus newsletters. So with email marketing, there's usually a specific purchase. Like, let's talk about your welcome sequence. Like actually, let's make it simpler. Let's talk about, I just signed up to your webinar. So that series of emails is like all the links are like add to calendar, Zoom link. Like we've got one goal, and any link should support that goal, and they're probably all the same link. But a newsletter is very different. You have way more flexibility. You can link to the things you're listening to, the content you produce, the thing that you're selling. Like you can put, it's like a fun basket of surprises, and like put all the treats in there.
Yeah, I love that you call it a sandbox, because I think that's a great description for it, and and it also helps you to figure out how you can connect with your audience.
Yeah. I love a sandbox too.
Yeah, don't leave out.
You can rename you can have that one for your newsletter. Rename it Sam Sandbox.
It'll just keep going. It's like, I didn't know if people understood sidebar. I'm like, it's like what lawyers do on the side, and they whisper. So it was like me whispering to you guys. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's too much explaining, but it worked. It's 2 S's.
It works.
Yeah, it works. So, well, apparently. Thanks to people like you who have helped me to optimize it. So I highly recommend that everybody goes and obviously signs up for Tarzan's emails. They're amazing. They're full of value and content, but also I think set just like a fantastic example. And I know we didn't get into it today, but you're also such a good example for consent-based marketing. And so I know that's going to resonate so much with people here. And so definitely go check out Tarzan's stuff.
Great. Thanks. You already did the pitch for me. Plus, I think I recited it 3 or 4 times already. So tarzank.com/newsletter. That's where you find it.
So go to tarzank.com/newsletter. And then also, is there anywhere else you want people to connect with you, or anywhere that you want them to reach out to you?
If you hit reply, you might get my team, but you might get me. So that's also a way to talk to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm going through a really big life-changing personal loss right now, so I'm not on LinkedIn very frequently, or maybe at all. But normally that's the social media channel that I hang out on, so you can see me there.
Yes, see Tarzan there, reply to the emails, and definitely go read. Well, Tarzan, thank you so much for being here. You're such a treat. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Terms podcast. Make sure to follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. You can also check out all of our podcast episodes, show notes, links, and more at samvanderwielen.com/podcast. You can learn more about legally protecting your business and take my free legal workshop, 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business at samvanderwielen.com. And to stay connected and follow along, follow me on Instagram at samvanderwielen and send me a DM to say hi.